Okay, Jen Person's here. I'm going to be teaching Noelle. She's in 4th grade. We've been reading the book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Noelle, can you tell me, do you remember what happened in chapter 1 and chapter 2?
Lucy and her brother and sisters, they moved into somebody's house and they really didn't like him. And then Lucy found a wardrobe and went into it. And then she found a fawn.
Okay, what did she find in the wardrobe? What else besides the fawn?
She found coats.
Coats? What was behind all the coats? Dust?
Dust.
What was behind all the coats when she kept walking?
A lot of dust.
No, when she walked all the way past the coats. Remember, she was walking and walking.
No.
She started crunching on snow, and she was outside in a whole new place, right? Do you remember what that place was called?
Narnia.
Narnia, right. Okay. So far we have our story map with all those events, the setting, the characters. We've got that. Before we read chapter 3, I'm going to go over some words. There's some words in chapter 3 that they use. Sometimes they use funny words for things, like a sleigh. You know what a sleigh is, right? They call it a sledge. So when you see the word sledge, they're actually talking about a sleigh. Batty, if someone's batty, do you know what that means?
Crazy.
They're kind of crazy. Someone rapped on the door.
They knocked.
They knocked. Hoax, do you know what a hoax is?
Trick.
You're reading my paper. Spiteful. Do you know what spiteful means? You've probably heard it. Mean or hateful.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So that's going to come across sulking.
Like you're like coaxing it or something? No, you're like sneaking.
Sulking actually means if you're pouting, if you're like, oh, you're sulking about something. Shetland ponies, those are small horses.
Tiny ponies.
Yeah, you're going to come across that word, Shetland ponies. Gilded. Say the word. Gilded. Gilded.
Covered with a thin layer of gold.
Yep, so if you gilded something, you put a layer of gold on it. Let's see what else.
I know what the print means.
Hereafter, so like from now on. Hereafter, we're going to be filling in the story map. So from now on, when we read, we're going to be doing that. So just some things you might come across when you read. You might not have heard some of those words. Let's leave this over here. That's our story map.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So chapter 3, Noelle, you're going to be reading it out loud like we've been doing. Edmund and the Wardrobe.
Lucy ran out of the empty room into the passage and found the other 3. It's all right, she repeated. I've come back. What on earth are you talking about, Lucy? Asked Susan. Why, said Lucy in amazement. Haven't you been wondering where I was? So you've been hiding, have you? Said Peter. Poor old Lou hiding and nobody noticed. You'll have to hide longer than that if you want people to start looking for you. But I've been away for hours and hours, said Lucy. The others all stared at one another. Batty, said Edmund, tapping his head. Quite batty. What do you mean, Lou? Asked Peter. What I said, answered Lucy. It was just after breakfast when I went into the wardrobe, and I've been away for hours and hours. And I had tea, and all sorts of things have happened. Don't be silly, Lucy, said Susan. We've only just come out of that room a moment ago, and you were there then. She's not being silly at all, said Peter. She's just making up a story for fun, aren't you, Lou? And why shouldn't she? No, Peter, I'm not, she said. It's a magic wardrobe. There's wood inside it, and it's snowing, and there's a fawn and a witch, and it's called Narnia. Come and see. The others did not know what to think, but Lucy was excited that they all went back with her into the room. She rushed ahead of them, flung open the doors of the wardrobe, and cried, Now go. Now, Go and see for yourselves. Why, you goose, said Susan, putting her head inside and pulling the fur coats apart. It's just an ordinary wardrobe. Look, there's the back of it. Then everyone looked and pulled the coats apart. Then they all saw. Lucy herself saw a perfectly ordinary wardrobe. There was no wood and no smell, only the back of the wardrobe with hooks on it. Peter went and rapped his knuckles on it to make sure that it was solid.
Remember, wrapped? He wrapped on it?
He rapped on it.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure it was solid. A jolly good hoax, Lou, he said as he came out again. You have really taken us in. I must admit, we half believed you. But it wasn't a hoax at all, said Lucy. Really and truly, it was all different a moment ago. Honestly, it was, I promise. Come, Lou, said Peter. That's a bit too far. You've had your joke. Hadn't you better drop it now? Lucy grew very red in the face and tried to say something, though she hardly knew what she was trying to say, and burst into tears. For the next few days, she was very miserable. She could have made it up with the others quite easily at any moment if she could have brought herself to say that the whole thing was only a story made up for fun. But Lucy was a very truthful girl, and she knew that she was really in the right, and she could not bring herself to say this. The others, who thought she was telling a lie and a silly lie, too, made her very unhappy. The two elder ones did this without meaning to do it, but Edmund could be spiteful, and on this occasion he was spiteful. He sneered and jeered at Lucy, and kept on asking her if she'd found any other new countries and other cupboards all over the house. What made it worse was these days ought to have been delightful. The weather was fine and they were out of doors from morning to night, bathing, fishing, climbing trees, and lying in the heather. But Lucy could not properly enjoy any of it. And so things went on until the next wet day. That day, when it came to the afternoon, and there was still no sign of a break in the weather, they decided to play hide and seek. Susan was it. As soon as the others scattered to hide, Lucy went into the room where the wardrobe was. She did not mean to hide in the wardrobe because she knew that it would only set others talking again about the whole wretched business. But she did want to have one more look inside it, for by this time she was beginning to wonder herself whether Narnia and the Faun had not been a dream. The house was so large and complicated and full of hiding places that she thought she would have time to have one look in the wardrobe and then hide somewhere else. But as soon as she reached it, she heard steps in the passage outside. And then there was nothing for it but to jump into the wardrobe and hold the door closed behind her. She did not shut it properly because she knew that it is very silly to shut oneself into a wardrobe, even if it is not a magic one. Now the steps she had heard those of Edmund, and came into the room just in time to see Lucy vanishing into the wardrobe. He at once decided to get into it himself, not because he thought it a particularly good place to hide, but because he wanted to go on teasing about her imaginary country. He opened the door. There were coats hanging up as usual, and the smell of mothballs, and darkness and silence, and no sign of Lucy. She thinks I'm Susan come to catch her, said Edmund to himself, and so she's keeping very quiet in at the back. He jumped in and shut the door, forgetting what a very foolish thing is to do. Then he began feeling about for Lucy in the dark. He had expected to find her in a few seconds and was very surprised when he did not. He decided to open the door again and let in some light, but he could not find the door either. He didn't like this at all, began groping wildly in every direction. He even shouted out, "Lucy, Lou, where are you? I know you're here." There was no answer. Edmund noticed that his own voice had a curious sound, not the sound you would expect in a cupboard, but a kind of open air sound. He also noticed that he was unexpectedly cold. Then he saw light. "Thank goodness," said Edmund. The door must have swung open of its own accord. He forgot all about Lucy and went toward the light, which he thought was the open door of the wardrobe, but instead of finding himself stepping out of the spare room, he found himself stepping out from the shadow of some thick, dark fir trees into an open place in the middle of a wood. There was a crisp, dry snow under his feet, and more snow lying on the branches of the trees. Overhead there was a pale blue sky, the sort of sky one sees on a fine winter day in the morning. Straight ahead from him, he saw between the tree trunks the sun just rising, very red and clear. Everything was perfectly still, as if he were the only living creature in that country. There was not even a robin or a squirrel among the trees, and the wood stretched as far as he could see in every direction. He shivered. He now remembered that he had been looking for Lucy, and also how unpleasant that he had been to her about her imaginary country, which now turned out to not have been imaginary at all. He thought that she must have be somewhere quite close. And so he shouted, "Lucy, Lucy, I'm here too. Edmund." There's no answer. She's angry about all the things I've been saying lately, thought Edmund. And though he did not like to admit that he had been wrong, he also did not much like being alone in this strange, cold, quiet place. So he shouted again, I say, "Lou, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I see now you were right all along. Do come out. Make it pax." Still there was no answer. "Just like a girl," said Edmund to himself, "sulking somewhere, won't accept an apology." He looked around him again and decided he did not much like this place, and he almost made up his mind to go home when he heard a very far off into the wood a sound of bells. He listened, and the sound came nearer and nearer, and at last there swept the sight of a sledge drawn by 2 reindeer. The reindeer were about the size of Shetland ponies, and their hair was so white that even their branching horns were glided and shone like something on fire when the sunrise caught them. Their harnesses was of scarlet leather and covered with bells. On the sledge, driving the reindeer, sat a fat dwarf who had been about 3 feet high. if he had been standing, he was dressed in polar bear's fur and got on his head. He wore a red hood with a long gold tassel hanging down from its point. His huge beard covered his knees and served him instead of a rug. But behind him, on a much higher seat in the middle of the sledge, sat a very different person, a great lady, taller than any woman that Edmund had ever seen. She also was covered in white fur up to her throat and held a long, straight golden wand in her hand and wore a golden crown on her head. Her face was white, not merely pale, but white like snow or paper or icing sugar, except for her very red mouth. It was a beautiful face in other respects, but proud and cold and stern.
Who do you think that's going to be, that lady? Do you have a guess?
Fairy godmother?
Fairy godmother. Okay, good guess.
No, the White Witch.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does she have that makes you think that?
She had a white wand.
A wand? Yeah, she's holding a wand. Maybe she is the witch. That's a good guess. Let's keep reading.
The sledge was a fine sight as it came sweeping toward Edmund with the bells jingling and the dwarf cracking his whip and snow flying up on each side of it. "Stop," said the lady, and the dwarf pulled the reindeer up so sharp that they almost sat down. Then they recovered themselves and stood champing their bits and blowing in the frosty air. The breath coming out of their nostrils looked like smoke. "And what, pray, are you?" said the lady, looking hard at Edmund. My name is Edmund," said Edmund, rather awkwardly. He did not like the way she looked at him. The lady frowned. "Is that how you address a queen?" she asked, looking sterner than ever. "I beg your pardon, your majesty. I didn't know," said Edmund. "Not know the Queen of Narnia?" cried she. "Ha! You shall know us better than her hereafter."
That's hereafter. Remember the word we went
Hereafter.
over? Hereafter.
But I repeat, what are you? "Please, your majesty," said Edmund. "I don't know what you mean. I'm at school. At least I was. It's the holidays now."
Okay, that's chapter 3. So, who was that lady?
The White Witch.
The White Witch, also the what of Narnia?
Queen of Narnia.
She's also the Queen of Narnia. Yes. All right, nice job reading chapter 3. Let's fill in. Let's finish with our story map. So, did we have any new settings? No, we already had.
No.
We had all the settings. There wasn't any new places.
The Queen of Narnia.
All right, fill in our new character, the Queen of Narnia, or the
Queen of
the Queen of Narnia. Okay, and our events. So you can tell me first before we write anything down. What are the events that happened?
Edmund saw Lucy walking into the wardrobe and he followed her.
Okay, so Edmund finally went into the wardrobe. Okay.
And Edmund also met the White Witch.
Good, let's put that on there. That is another important event. All right, so remember that word we learned, hereafter?
Mm-hmm.
It means from now on. So if you say hereafter, it means like from now on you're going to do something. So she said, not know the Queen of Narnia, she cried. Ha, you shall know us better hereafter. So what do you think she means? What's she telling him that?
Because he's gonna stay there forever, she might put him in a dungeon or
Oh,
something.
you think so? She's saying he's going to get to know her better from now on. That's a good guess. She might make him stay there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see.
Papers, I hate.
No, you don't have to write though. We're just going to talk about it.
Oh.
Actually, and if I forget what you said, it's on video.
Okay.
Cool, huh? You don't have to write your answers.
Yeah.
You just have to tell me your answers. All right. Why do you think, now this is one of those thinking questions. It didn't tell you the answer in the book. You have to think about it. Why do you think Lucy start to wonder whether Narnia had been a dream?
Because everybody disagreed with her that Narnia was actually real, and she thought, well, I guess if they say it's not real, it's probably not real.
Yeah, she saw it with her own eyes, right?
Mhm.
But she started to be like, wait a minute, is this even real? Because everybody else was, keep your arm in there. Everybody else kept saying that she was lying and she was making it up.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe the lady on the sledge? You can use stuff that they said exactly from the book or what you kind of pictured about her.
Mean.
You think she's mean? Can you remember any descriptions about how she looked? What they said about how she looked?
She had a white face, but very pretty.
Okay.
And she wore a pretty white dress with a wand and a golden crown.
Good. Nice details. Nice remembering the details. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we already asked you who the lady was, so we figured out who
So
she
White
was.
Witch.
The White Witch. Let's see.
Susan and Lucy.
Okay. So remember how Edmund, how did he feel kind of when he realized that Lucy was right? So he had been making fun of her all week.
He felt bad.
He felt bad because she wasn't lying.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been mean to her for all those days because he thought she was making it up. So he's going to have to admit to her that he was wrong, right? Have you ever had to admit that you were wrong about something?
Yeah. A
Yeah?
bunch of times.
Yeah? Okay. So how did that make you feel,
Uh,
admitting that you were wrong? about
Kind of
something?
embarrassed and mad.
Kind of embarrassing. Now, do you think Edmund will feel like that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Maybe sad though for Edmund.
Yeah, maybe sad. Why?
Because Edmund doesn't sound like one of those guys that get really mad.
He doesn't sound like he would get mad.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd feel bad about treating his sister so badly, you think?
Mhm.
I think you're right. He'd probably feel bad. All right, let's see. So, why, in the beginning, why was Lucy surprised that her siblings weren't wondering where she was?
Because she thought that she was gone for hours and hours. And Edmund and all her brother, Edmund, Peter, and Susan thought that she was gone for like a few minutes.
Okay.
Or maybe like 30 seconds.
So they thought she was gone for like a minute, and she thought she was gone for hours. So what's going on there? How long was she gone?
She was gone, well, so the worlds have different times.
Oh.
And I think Narnia's times go faster.
Oh, that's a good guess. Yeah, I think you might be right. That's why it felt like she was in there for hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So why didn't she just make up with her brothers and sisters and tell her she made up the story? Why didn't she just be like, you guys are right, I made it all up?
Because she saw it with her own eyes and she didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I think you're right. She wanted to believe that it was actually real. Okay, and then, so the next couple days should have been fun. She was playing outside and stuff, but she didn't enjoy those days. Why didn't she enjoy those days?
Because she got kind of sad that nobody believed her.
Mm-hmm. Nobody believed her story about Narnia. Okay, let's see. So when Edmund, he went into the wardrobe, why did he think Lucy wasn't answering him? He went in there and he was calling for Lucy. What do you think he was thinking?
Because Lucy was probably mad.
Yeah, he thought maybe she just wasn't answering because she was mad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's why she wasn't answering?
No.
No? What do you think? Why?
She got taken from the White Witch.
Oh, so she wasn't even there anymore, you think? That's a good guess because the White Witch was right there, right?
Yeah.
That is a good guess. All right, let's see. So 2 of our new characters that we have.
One.
Oh, we have one. The Queen. Do you remember who was with the Queen?
A fat dwarf that was about 3 feet tall and a long beard and all the way down.
Oh,
his
good. You remembered a lot of details. So you didn't put him on our characters.
No,
but,
because he's not like a main character.
yeah, he's not a main character, but we'll put him on there anyways.
Okay.
Especially because you remembered a lot of good details about the dwarf. So, all right, let's put those right there.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see if we got all the questions. Some of them we answered when we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this one we didn't do.
Huh.
Why was she trying to not hide in the wardrobe during hide and seek? Why do you think she was kind of avoiding the wardrobe?
Because when she went in there, when Peter knocked to the, well, I don't know if it was Peter or Edmund, I forgot. But they knocked at the back of the wardrobe and there was actually a back and she didn't know which was real. So that's probably why.
Oh, so yeah, they kind of thought she was lying again.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it wasn't real.
But the story said Lucy was a very truthful girl.
Oh, that was a good detail that you got too.
So she couldn't be lying.
So she's not the type of person that would make something like that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen now in chapter 4?
The White Witch is gonna take Edmund.
Oh,
And
what?
then I don't know.
I think she's going to take him. Why does she want him? Why does she want him?
Because he's the son of Adam, I think.
Oh, yeah, you remember from chapter 2, she's looking for sons and daughters, right? Of Adam and Eve. Do we know why yet?
No.
No, we don't. Do you have a guess?
Well, because Adam and Eve, well, I don't know if they're specifically talking about this Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve were the first people ever living.
Oh, so maybe she wants him for that reason?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if I got that right.
Let's see. Well, remember what I said, some of the questions?
Mm-hmm.
They don't give you the answer. You have to think about the answers.
Got to make an inference.
Okay.
An inference.
All right, I told you were going to write down the answers, but we're going to do a fun one too. For my last question, you get to draw a picture. So I want you to draw a picture from the description you gave me and from what they said in the book of the White Witch or the Queen. What you think she would look like? I want you to do your own picture of the Queen. How's she feeling in that picture?
Mad.
Mad. I see her eyebrows. She's smiling a little bit though. Is she
Yeah.
happy at the same time?
No, she's like an evil cackle.
Oh, doing an evil cackle. She's got a huge crown
I know, because she's a queen.
with lots of gems on
She's
it.
mean. And she's got a pretty dress. And she's got the wand. And then I'm gonna do this. And then she's like this. I want to make a masterpiece.
You don't want to make a masterpiece?
But that's how I think she.
I think that's good. You got a lot of details. The pretty dress, the look on her face. She looks kind of evil. The magic wand. More detail.
Gotta be pretty. She's
That
mean.
looks good. Awesome. All right, so we'll keep that with our story map for the next chapter. Let's see. Here we got our 30 minutes.